Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nicole Valenzuela, Senior Director of Enterprise Solutions here at Autofleet, and today we're going to speak to you about something extremely important, keeping vehicles on the road. Today I have two amazing leaders who are experts in the space, Angelo Adams from Zipcar, President of Zipcar. If anyone knows about keeping a fleet running, it's Angelo. Before Angelo ran operations at Zipcar, he was with Otis Elevator and served in the Army Signal Corps. We also have Steve Jastrow from Element Fleet Management. Steve has been in the management space for 25 years, seeing what works and what doesn't when it comes to fleet management. I can't wait for all of you to hear what they have to say today. But before we dive in, a few housekeeping items. We will have a Q&A at the end, so feel free to submit any questions in the Q&A section at any time. In addition, we are recording this webinar, so we will be sending this out about a day after the event. Keep an eye out in your inbox for it. And then in order to adjust your screen to make sure you can see everything, just hit Control- to make any adjustments. All right, now let's dig into everything. Steve, I'd love to start with you. Can you talk to us a little bit about your role at Element as the Global Head of Strategic Advisory Services?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole, and welcome, Angelo. Good to partner with you. And first, I must apologize. I'm a bit under the weather, so hopefully I make it through. But I may need to go off camera for a minute or two. But anyway, my team that I lead is tasked with identifying ways to allow our clients to run their fleets more cost efficiently. So what we do is we take a lot of the raw data that comes in, we analyze it, and we turn it into actionable insights. And then we partner with our clients and present those as options for them to take costs out of their fleet. So it's a bit of a combination of data analytics, data science, and client advisory.
Thank you, Steve. Now, Angelo, as president of Zipcar, you wear many hats, including overseeing fleet operations. Could you walk us through what a typical day in your role looks like and share some of the biggest challenges you face?
Yeah, well, thank you, Nicole and Steve. It's good to be with you. And thank Autofleet for inviting me here today. So for those less familiar, Zipcar is a professionally managed fleet. We're a car sharing service that's been around. This is our 25th year. So we've been around since 2000 and we're excited about that. As a president, there's really no typical day, right? There's, as the head of Zipcar, you might see me in the supply chain. And at the supply chain, I'm troubleshooting issues. I'm helping out cleaning cars. I could be launching new cars at partners such as Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is in Seattle. I had a chance to really meet active duty soldiers and their families out there. My favorite part of the day is getting out of the office and heading out to do some team bonding events. So sometimes you'll see me out in New York City, bonding with the team and really getting to know our fleet team out there in the field. Oftentimes I'm hosting internal town halls, which we call Zipcast. So we're reviewing our organizational goals, the wins, the awards we have. And of course, most importantly, I'm always scrutinizing, how we can improve our fleet and our member experience across every department, whether you're fleet or operations, whether you're creative or finance or B2B, you name it, it's all about the member experience. So at Zipcar, we provide the best member experience to our members. Our members are in cities, in towns, and businesses nationwide. And shortly after I joined Zipcar, I made it a company's goal to improve service reliability really in three areas. It's fleet and availability in our footprint. So are our vehicles, are our cars at the right place at the right time, and are they available for our members to use? The car cleanliness and condition. Is the car clean? Is it maintained? Do we have the proper paperwork? And then lastly is the reservation start success. So is the car ready for a member? Do we have a gas card in there? It's snowing up here in Boston. Do we have the snow equipment needed to get the snow off the car? As part of this goal, we launched what I call operational excellence to really ensure that every vehicle remains in service, costs are controlled, compliance rules are met, and our members have the best Zipcar experience possible.
Thank you both for your responses. And now that we understand your roles and many responsibilities a little bit more. Would love to dive a little bit deeper into fleet management. So going back to you, Steve, at its core, what do you consider a strategic approach to managing downtime?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. I think the most critical thing that you got to get right at the beginning is choosing the right vehicle, and that becomes really important. The larger your fleet, the vehicles are, and the more complex the upfitting. If you have the wrong chassis under very expensive upfitting, you're gonna run into more downtime than you otherwise should. So that's really important. And then I think the next big thing is being able to measure downtime. The adage, you can't manage what you can't measure, applies to downtime. So make sure you have an ability to manage it. And then implementing and more importantly, adhering to preventive maintenance schedules. It's one thing to have them. It's another thing to follow them. Driver training also is important. Keep in mind, many of your drivers may not be very familiar with the vehicles that they're driving for their job. They might be driving large panel vans that they have to rely on their side mirrors, and they're much larger than their personal vehicle they drive on nights and weekends, and that can create some issues. Stopping distances are vastly different if you've got a bunch of weight in the vehicle. So the driver training is a really important aspect of it. And then establishing and again, following optimal replacement parameters. My team does a lot of work with our clients to identify what's the optimal time to get out of a vehicle. And generally speaking, we're advising them to get out of the vehicle before the costly repairs set in. And the costly repairs and the unscheduled timing of those are very detrimental to impacting downtime.
Those are all excellent points, Steve. And just kind of building on that, what are some of the most common root causes of downtime that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, typically it's maintenance failures or mechanical failures and breakdowns. Unscheduled repairs are by far the most costly when it comes to downtime. We typically see 2.5 times more downtime on an unscheduled repair versus a scheduled repair. So that is what drives a lot of it. And then they're driven because of you're not following your preventive maintenance. Accidents are also a big impact. I know this is more maintenance, but accidents are generally measured in days, not hours. And an accident, you can, back of the napkin math, you can assume about a month that vehicle is going to be offline while it's getting repaired. Driver error. So, poor driving practices, the driver's ignoring a check engine light. Those are all things that, if followed, would minimize the downtime. And then, so a lot of those are the inverse of what I just talked about. But the next two are a little bit different. So the first one, and we saw this during the pandemic, supply chain disruptions. We saw a lot of additional downtime because the parts weren't available at the repair facility. And so that was driving a lot of downtime. That's gotten a lot better since the pandemic. But with in the U.S. anyway, with these tariffs that are being discussed, there is concern that it could spark another supply chain disruption. So we're keeping a close eye on that. And then the other one is improper inspections, and that is typically tied to larger asset classes where you have a pre and post trip inspection. So the vehicle comes in, the post trip inspection misses something, then so rather than it being repaired while the vehicle is on its natural downtime, it gets caught at the pre-trip inspection, and the vehicle can't go out and do its route until that repair is resolved.
That's quite the list, another extensive list of things to manage. Angelo, I'm curious, have you experienced the same challenges that Steve described? And if so, how do you currently manage or measure the financial and operational impact of downtime in your fleet?
Yeah, I would say, Steve, that's a long list. And like anyone who owns a car, when you have 1,000 cars, thousands of cars, I mean, we experience all of those common pain points that you talk about. So But we proactively manage our fleet so that we try to not run into these issues, and we have the planned downtime that you talked about earlier. We measure the financial and operational impact of downtime in our fleet because it's crucial to ensuring that we have profitability and also member satisfaction. So a few things that we looked at is we look at revenue lost due to unavailability. So fleet utilization, what's the percentage of time that the vehicles are actively being rented? And that's a key metric for us because a drop in utilization could indicate the financial impact of our downtime. We also look at unallocated versus out of service. And how do we get our unallocated down? And when we focus on our operational excellence that I talked to earlier. Operational costs during downtime, you have the repair itself, you have the maintenance, but you also have the logistics of getting the cars to and from to the shop. You have the spare parts, you have the labor for the vehicles being out of service, costs related to towing, transporting vehicles, repositioning, or even swapping vehicles to rebalance the fleet. So those are some of the other things that we measure. The most important for me is our NPS score, so our member satisfaction score, and that's often linked to. It talks about about our fleet downtime, and it leads to potential revenue loss from potential churn. So we use member surveys and a third-party tool to unwrap, to qualify, and to prioritize our member feedback, so that we can create an actionable plan around our members. Identifying opportunities in supply and demand, and you talked about that as well, Steve. We evaluate areas where Zipcars are unavailable despite the search demand to provide insight into potential revenue opportunities and better inform our public and private partners on locations that will best serve our people and our members. Peak time impact, obviously, if a car is down during a weekend, it has a much greater impact to us than if it's down during the middle of a week. So during high peak demand periods, that costs us a ton more money. And so tracking downtime in these windows is really, really critical. And when members need to get home for the holidays and when they need to get home for the weekends, we have to have our Zipcars available to our members. And you asked about, Nicole, like reporting and KPIs. We look at downtime rate, so the percentage of our total fleet that's down over a particular period of time. And again, we focus on weekdays and weekends. Revenue per vehicle, comparing revenue from active vehicles to those impacted by the downtime. Do we need to rebalance our fleet in a certain area? Was there a baseball game or basketball game, which sometimes means we have to rebalance our fleet? Evaluating the return on investment per vehicle is our fleet ROI. So we use the fleet ROI to identify underperforming fleet that's affected by frequent downtime. So those are some of the things that we measure. And those are some of the ways in which we prevent the downtime.
All great points and another extensive list, Angelo. Quickly going back to the NPS scores, I know those are super important to your business regarding member experience and cleaning. Cleaning is one of those tasks that sometimes people don't like thinking about, but since the pandemic, it's grown in importance. Would love to understand what innovative approaches you have found for managing cleaning schedules without disrupting service availability.
Yeah, so when I think about our cleaning experience, I think about it as a triangle, almost like a trifecta. So you have your members, you have your vendors, and our fleet associates and fleet coordinators, and then you have the tools and the products that we use. And so at Zipcar, a personally used vehicles sits idle about 95% of the time. However, at Zipcar, our vehicles are constantly being used, right? Driven by multiple members in a day. And some say that in one day, 50 to 90 different members could be using, particularly during our peak times, could be using a Zipcar. So the first thing is really around the members, and we have member accountability. So we have 3 rules, right? It's clean up, fill up, and return on time. So part of our members' responsibility is to ensure that our cars are clean when they get out. So we work behind the scenes to ensure that we have the best member experience through our members. We've got an in-app reporting, and when our members start and end their trip, we ask them to take photos of the car before and after and report any cleanliness issues within our app. And we use that to notify our fleet teams to then go and tackle the issues. The second piece of that is the professionally managed fleet that we talked about. So our fleet team and our partners are integral into helping to maintain a consistent car condition So whether you book in Boston or whether you book in San Francisco, we have partners, we have fleet associates and fleet coordinators that help us to make sure we keep our cars clean. And then from a technology perspective, we partner with Autofleet to automate our scheduling and also to introduce dynamic car cleaning to ensure that we support our members at the right place and at the right time. Autofleet optimized our cleaning strategy and reduced the number of cleans while also maintaining and in many cases, also improving our NPS score. So one example I like to highlight is in New York City, our monthly cleans were down by about 25%, but our NPS scores were up about 16%. And that was for the month of December. In Philadelphia, during the same time period, our monthly cleans was also down by about 50%, but the cleanliness NPS was actually up by 19%. So using that trifecta of our members, our professionally managed fleet with our vendors and our team, our Zipcar team, and then also the tools like Autofleet, we're able to manage our cleaning fairly well.
That's incredible orchestration with great results. That's awesome. So we've covered some of the core challenges and how to strategically manage downtime. Would love to now explore how technology is transforming fleet management. So going back to you, Steve, what advancements in data analytics have you seen driving improvements in fleet uptime?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact we're seeing is just the greater access to and the higher quality and granularity of data. And it allows us to drill in and analyze root causes, which is really important in spotting inefficiencies and pinpointing the areas for improvement. The data gathered through telematics specifically is also very powerful. Because it allows us to identify driving patterns that can impact the performance of the vehicle, that can lead to maintenance downtime events as well as accidents. And then, what I've seen also is just the quality of the vehicle has improved dramatically over the last, since I've been in the industry. And what we typically see is the repair events are occurring further away from one another, but when they do occur, they're more impactful from a downtime perspective. So it does take a bit longer and they're more expensive to repair.
Angelo, would love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Sorry, I had to come off mute there. I would say data-driven insights continue to improve our operations, helping us bring our members the best experience possible. Advancement in data analytics not only enhances our fleet uptime, but also improves our member satisfaction, as well as us to help maintain our vehicles better. So a few examples of data analytics include our predictive maintenance models. So we leverage machine learning and AI at Zipcar to predict analytics to monitor the health of the vehicles. Sensors that are in vehicles enable us to help to see real-time data about the engine, the battery health, tire pressures, and other critical metrics that you'll see in many cars these days. This allows us to anticipate when maintenance is needed before breakdown occurs, which significantly reduces our downtime. Steve talked about telematics. We have a connected vehicle telematics system that provides continual telematics data, which now allows us to track our usage, the mileage, the wear and tear, and then this data allows us to proactively maintain our schedules and ensure that vehicles are available when members need them. And then we have the dynamic fleet allocation. So where do we place our vehicles? The ability to place them in areas based on usage patterns and demands, based on historical and real-time data, helps us to optimize our vehicle placage in high demands and also ensure that the vehicles remain in use, reducing idle time. Autofleet's automated management for us. So Zipcar, we deployed the Autofleet analytics to provide and analyze reporting and feedback from our vendors and members. So we take these data insights from patterns or reoccurring issues to help really maintain our fleet and reduce the likelihood of problems in the future. And the vehicle access reporting our vendors, our fleet is monitored by vendors as well as our fleet associates. And we can have like fleet compliance, audit trails, vendor drive-it audits. And so we know that the work was done, when the time it was done, and where the vehicles was placed when the cleaning happened. And then lastly, I would say damage tracking and recovery. So integrated damage into a triaging process so we can look at whether the damage was existing damage. We can track the control center to make sure that we reduce redundant actions. New damage processed through our automated workflow that instantly reach the operations and claims team. And then as a result, this allows us to increase our claim attribution, helping to recover costs, where needed, and then also to move more quickly and easily through the process.
That's incredible. Those are amazing advancements. Looking ahead, Angelo, would love to understand some additional upcoming trends in fleet management that excite you the most for reducing downtime.
Yeah, I would say from a car sharing perspective, there's several trends in fleet management that are exciting and potentially helps us to reduce the downtime. The first is our automated maintenance workflow. So we're starting to use tools that automate and dynamically schedule vehicle maintenance, which improves our fleet team's prioritizing of vehicles, fleet servicing, and also, again, saves us time and money. For example, our telematics, or the brains of the Zipcar, is installed when launching a new vehicle. Right, we put the telematics in, and then the fleet team uses that to manually block vehicles to ensure access and arrange this across the distributed fleet. To optimize these operations, we work with Autofleet as an ad hoc task operations for specific vehicles. We optimize the execution of the tasks based on vendor skills, the selection, the location of the vehicles, and when the vehicles are available and the best time to actually block those vehicles out. The entire workflow is tracked, it's automated, resulting in reduced downtime and reduction in manual processes. One example of this was in DC. We had 135 vehicles where we launched this systematic approach, and we saw that the downtime was reduced by about 71% over the course of that time. The second trend that I like to highlight is electric vehicle optimization. We launched EVs in select cities in 2023, and we have worked alongside numerous innovative partners to advance shared EVs across towns and across cities nationwide. We're excited to see the advancements in several areas. One is curbside and expanding smart charging networks, seeing more and more cities implement initiatives for EVs. And given the cost and complexity of EVs, we believe that the future is shared, especially when you consider their charging requirements. The battery monitoring system, advancements in battery analytics, helps us to predict when the charger is needed and where the chargers are to avoid any unplanned downtime due to charging needs. So the predictive and analytical maintenance really helps us to be a leader in this category.
Those are all super exciting developments and also incredible to hear about the reduction in downtime by 71%. Steve, going back to you, would love to talk about AI. It seems to be everywhere these days. What impacts do you think telematics will have on AI to optimize maintenance schedules and minimize operational disruptions?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. We're already starting to see sort of early days on some of the improvements that AI will bring. Telematics itself has been out there for a while, and I think AI is going to help sort of change the paradigm that people look at telematics. I think traditionally it had been looked at as Big Brother watching, but now I think they're gonna see it as a valuable data input into the AI models. So traditionally we looked at just the vehicle, but now we're able to also look at the driver and the driver behavior. And I think that the driver has more influence on the vehicle performance than the vehicle itself. So that's going to be super critical. And then a lot of the things that Angelo touched on as well, just accurate and timely odometer readings will be critical to make sure that we're getting vehicles in for proper preventive maintenance schedules. Optimal replacement will be another benefactor of telematics data coming in. But then as we start to think about how do we optimize the maintenance timing, so we're getting vehicles in and we're scheduling them into the daily route. So you're still going to have downtime, but if you can avoid the unscheduled repair where you have a driver stranded on the side of the road and a tow truck dispatched to get it, Now you're going to be missing fewer appointments, fewer missed deliveries. That whatever your fleet is performing for you will have upside benefit of it. The ability to track the critical issues, looking at the DTC codes, mapping those to critical repair events will be really important. Geofencing the repair network so you can monitor when vehicles go in and come out of a particular maintenance facility. It'll help you hold your repair network accountable for the timeliness of getting the repairs done, as well as the driver. I think a lot of people overlook the fact that when the vehicle goes in for a repair, a lot of times the driver gets put into a rental. The rental may be a nicer vehicle than their daily today fleet vehicle, and they may not be as excited to go in and swap it out. So it'll give you more accountability on both sides of that equation. But the biggest thing that telematics will do for AI models is it'll help train the AI model. AI models are impressive, and you've seen, I'm sure everybody's seen the demos of what AI can do. But if the model's not properly trained, the AI isn't learning and giving you accurate results. And so being able to train those models is going to be really important to make sure that we're getting the proper insights as a result of the AI solution. So the telematics is going to have a really critical role in the development of what I'll call sort of the next generation of data and analytics in managing fleet. And then Angelo talked about it as well, just the data from EV. Think of all the vehicles that are migrating to EV. There's fewer repairs needed on EVs, but charging becomes an issue. Battery health becomes an issue. So integrating charging information through telematics as well as through smart charging networks will be really important as well to make sure that the battery health is the battery's staying healthy and that your drivers are productive.
Yeah, the tech advancements these days are fascinating. There's so much going on. Would love to jump to some challenges and opportunities. So, Angelo, going back to you, what cultural or operational challenges have you faced in adopting new maintenance strategies?
I would say in general, car sharing faces complex challenges related to downtime, such as unplanned breakdowns, inefficiencies in maintenance scheduling, and lack of real-time visibility. I think that's some of the things that Steve and I touched on earlier. A centralized AI data platform addresses these pain points by holistically integrating technology, data, and also the team workflows, and allows car sharing to really minimize the disruption operationally, to optimize your resource utilization, and to scale as the fleet grows. So ultimately, this shift will reduce our downtime, lower costs, and ensure the vehicles are ready when our members need them.
Those are totally relatable challenges, and many I hear across Autofleet partners. Angelo, what opportunities do you see for collaboration across operations, procurement, and vendors to reduce downtime?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, absolutely. So what opportunities do you see for collaboration across operations, procurement, and vendors to help reduce downtime?
I think by fostering really strong collaboration across operations, procurement, and vendors, we create like this seamless ecosystem that minimizes your fleet downtime and maximizes your vehicle availability, but more importantly, enhances the member experience and member satisfaction. So you can do those all at the same time. So a couple of examples is dynamic fleet management. So fleet operations, finance, data analytics, they all review our footprint and locations to ensure that we're meeting the members' demand where they're needed. We look at how we schedule and collaboration across all those departments to schedule maintenance and cleanings during low demand periods instead of having it happen as a disruption for high periods or when you may not even know. And then the third thing is really our service level agreement. So the vendors that we partner with, such as Autofleet, we give them service level agreements to make sure that we have quick turnarounds for repairs and parts delivery to ensure that we have a smooth, seamless flow through our procurement system.
And Steve, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Just to repeat the question, Steve, what opportunities do you see for collaboration across operations, procurement, and vendors to help reduce downtime?
Yeah, it's the lines of communication are critical. I think Angelo and his team do an outstanding job of that. But if you're running a fleet and those groups are not talking today, they ought to start immediately. Scheduling repairs so that they're sort of uh, brought into the daily route of the vehicle. If they need tires or a PM, or we know that there's a DTC code that's out there, certain vehicles may not be available for a particular day. And it can be very disruptive if the operations or the scheduling team are not aware of a vehicle being available for the day, and they schedule a route for it. And now all of a sudden the vehicle's not able to do the route. So you have missed deliveries, and that can have an impact on your NPS score or the client sentiment of how your organization is performing. And then, sort of the flip side of that, if you're utilizing a vendor network for repairs, making sure that they're equipped with the right parts to repair the vehicle. If you have to go in and get a set of tires, make sure they have the tires available in the morning. So when your driver gets there, they don't need to do a hot shot run with another maintenance provider within their network to get the tires over to the facility. So there's little things that can have a dramatic impact on your fleet performance and your downtime management by having all these groups talking to one another.
You've both highlighted the importance of partnerships, and clearly they're super important. Steve, how do you how do partnerships with third-party providers like Element and Autofleet address these challenges?
Yeah, I think the specialized expertise is probably one of the big things. We've got 2,000 people that work for Element and Autofleet, and we're 100% focused on fleet management. So that's where our specialization is, and being able to access those resources, I think, is one of the big benefits of a third party provider like that. And then, when we also think about Element and Autofleet coming together, Autofleet's got this cutting edge technology stack that we're super excited to be leveraging. And then Element brings, decades of fleet management expertise to the table. So I think it's going to be a tremendous marriage of the two companies. And I'm really excited for what the future brings. And then the economies of scale. This is all we do, so we do it very well. We have redundancy built in. We've got backup people, so where you're not relying on one person that knows everything about a particular aspect of your fleet management. The technology development, it's 100% allocated to fleet management, as opposed to many other organizations. Their technology is dedicated to what their clients are utilizing. And oftentimes fleet is run off of a spreadsheet or post-it notes on the side of a computer screen. So there's a lot of benefits that are pulled together with a company like that. And then the other thing that I typically see when I go in, and I think Angelo and his team do a tremendous job of this, but integrating all your data together. So a lot of times when companies try to do it on their own, they've got a system for maintenance, and they maybe have multiple systems for maintenance. They have telematics, and it's got great reporting, but it's another silo. Their asset information is in yet another silo in our fixed asset system. Their fuel is ran by another independent party. And so you don't pull it all together and look at the total cost of operating a particular vehicle. That's really important to identify which vehicles are costing me the most and what can I do to change that cost trajectory. And then having all that data, and this is where I think the combination of Element and Autofleet is going to be really impactful, is thinking about how to optimize routes. And we've got all of this incredible data flowing through. So how do we bring solutions to our clients that allow them to operate their fleets more cost efficiently? So I see tremendous opportunity by bringing in a third party to run all that, because it is complicated. It's a little bit resource heavy to be able to do that, and when it's not your core competency, it does get to be a bit challenging for clients who are trying to do it on their own. I think you're on mute.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. We're super excited about the partnership between Autofleet and Element and think that it's going to bring amazing power behind the fleet management space. Guys, this has been fantastic. We've covered so much ground today, from strategic approaches to tech that's changing the game. Now I'd love to go to the Q&A. We've gotten a lot of great questions, and whoever these speak to the most, I'll let you respond to them. So let me start at the top. So this is from Tina. I'm a fleet coordinator and often have my field engineers call me to tell me um, that there have been maintenance requests denied. Why would those maintenance requests be denied, and how can they quickly get assistance for those occurrences?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple reasons why they would be denied. If we felt that the repair was not needed, we would deny it. But we do have a maintenance control center staffed with people that would jump on the phone with a repair network and the client to get those resolved immediately. Because one of the metrics that we internally measure ourselves is the downtime, or the speed to get those repairs completed, because we know how critical it is to get those vehicles back in the field.
I'd like to add on there maybe. There's also, as Steve talked to earlier, the planning around the maintenance, right? And so if this procedure is already scheduled and somebody else puts an alert in for it, it may just say, okay, all right, we got that scheduled to happen on Monday morning. So maybe it showed up on your phone, but it's already scheduled, so it goes away. So that's another reason. Like, it's already pre-scheduled. That could be another reason.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And then I have another one. Would love to understand how to reduce the time for vehicles sitting in the shop. Steve, think or Angelo, either could go to you.
I'll start, maybe, Steve, and you can go from there. I would say, so you said reduce the time in the shop?
Yes. How can we reduce the time in the shop?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. One is making sure that you have the right suppliers to provide you the parts as quickly as possible. And I talked about SLAs. That's one of the things we build in is, hey, when we order a part, it's got to be turned around in a certain amount of days. I would say the second piece is knowing that the car is in the shop, right? And so having some sort of a tracking system or mechanism, GPS wise, to say, hey, this car has been in the shop, starting on Monday, and keeping accountability for how long it's been in the shop. And then thirdly, I would say just having a weekly, maybe bi-weekly meeting of when cars were down, how long they've been down, why they've been down, and making sure, what you can measure, you can manage, right? And so that's one of the things that we do is we have weekly meetings, weekly cadences around which cars are where. And to me, every car has a story, right? It's, hey, this car has been in the shop. Why is it in the shop? When are you expecting the car to come out the shop? And following up is the name of the game.
Yeah, and I probably don't have a lot to add to that. Being able to measure the downtime is really important. So knowing that it went in, and then holding the repair facility accountable for the repair is really important. And that also goes back to what Angelo and I were talking about earlier, is being able to understand what type of repairs are needed, and then making sure that you're aligning that with a repair facility that's got the parts, because the vehicle might be sitting there because they're waiting for a particular part to come in to complete the repair. So making sure that you've got the right facility to work on that vehicle is going to be really important.
Thank you, guys. A couple more here. What percentage of your fleet's downtime is currently planned versus unplanned?
Yeah, I would say, let me just, I anticipated some questions like that. what we typically see is, and I think I had put it on a slide. Typically, unplanned is about 2.5 times greater than planned in terms of hours, and 3 times the number of occurrences. So, if you've got 100 repairs, 75% of them are going to be unplanned, and then 25% would be planned. So. But that's not a linear equation. Typically, the newer the vehicle, the more scheduled and repaired or known the repairs are. It's when the vehicle gets aged out is where we start to see that tipping point, and that all factors into those optimal replacement models that I referred to earlier, to make sure that we're avoiding the downtime events. So I've got a data scientist on the team, and he was looking at repairs, and he came back and said, look, after like 150,000 miles on a typical light duty vehicle, I don't trust the model anymore because it's all over the place. And I said, well, actually, that's super insightful, because what you're telling me is I can't really plan for anything beyond there because the data is bouncing all over the place. And while for a personal vehicle, you can maybe, take those chances. When you're operating a business, that's probably not where you want to take chances on. And I think we'll be good for another 10,000 miles. It's time to replace that vehicle.
That makes sense. Angelo, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I would say we're a subsidiary of a larger public company, so we can't provide specific numbers around utilization. But here's what I would tell you, that if you're looking to start booking for spring break, you got to get on it now because the bookings go fast.
That makes sense. That makes sense. A few more. So, what is one change to your current downtime management that would have the biggest positive impact on your operations?
Yeah, I think I can take a first stab at this, Angelo. I think it depends on what you're not doing today. And so I think earlier, I think there's a slide that lists out a handful of things that I suggest that you have in place. Choosing the right vehicle, measuring system, PM schedules, optimal replacement. So look at that list and look at what aren't you doing, and those would be the things that I would recommend doing. If you're not doing any of them, the first thing you want to do is choose the right vehicle, and then make sure you've got proper PM schedules in place and that your drivers are following them.
Can you ask the question again for me, Nicole, please?
Of course, of course. What is one change to your current downtime management that would have the biggest positive impact on your operations?
I would say from a car sharing perspective, a centralized AI-driven fleet management and downtime platform system that has the single largest positive impact on our operations. Streamlined downtime tracking, predictive maintenance, and resource allocation, which leads to significant improvements in fleet availability and operational efficiency. And here's an example of how that could help us. Block parking spaces. I can't tell you how many times a member pulls up and the parking space is blocked. So one example is in New York City, we have dedicated on-street parking spaces for Zipcar. Other cars park there pretty regularly, which creates a waterfall downhill effect on our Zipcar operations. So we got to reach out to the upcoming reservation. We got to have the current member park somewhere else, figure out where that car is. And obviously this impacts the member experience. So anything that could help us with block parking spots would be ideal.
That makes a lot of sense, knowing your business. I do have one around EVs, so this could go to either. But what are the top 3 barriers for transitioning a full fleet into EVs?
Yeah, I can take a run at that, and Angela would welcome any thoughts that you have on it. But I think the cost is still a little bit of a barrier with the ICE to EV. The cost parity is getting closer in line, and the battery technology, which is probably the biggest hurdle that needs to be overcome, it's seen dramatic improvement over the last 5 years or so, I'll throw some numbers out there. It was the cost per kilowatt hour on a battery was north of $1,000, and it's in the low 100s right now, and 100 is sort of the threshold that folks feel like we need to be at, where there's going to be true cost parity. So we're very close to that. But I think the complexity of rolling out EVs is far greater than what many had originally planned. They just figured, oh, it's a different propulsion type, we'll just order them. It's like going from gas to diesel. It's far more complex than that. And so what we always recommend is run a pilot, make sure you have proper change management, because even though it may be a strategy that your organization wants to follow, doesn't mean all your drivers are on board. And so making them part of the process is really important. And those are some things that we work with our clients all the time. But figuring out that charging solution and then making sure that the drivers are a part of the solution is really critical, because if the drivers aren't on board, you're going to have a very challenging time seeing success with it. So make sure they tie it back to the organization's objectives and their goals, and you'll see better success with that. And those are all things that our Arc by Element group can provide great insight on.
I'll just piggyback on really two things. One is educating, right? Educating the members, and in my particular situation, the members around like how to use an EV, how is it different? Educating them on, like for instance, if you're going back to your location's a home location has got a charging station, you may need to charge, but you don't have to charge all the way up. Like when you go to a gas pump, you have to fill all the way up mostly all the time. At least people choose to. What I say is, hey, if you need 25% to get back, maybe fill it to 30%, 35%, get back, and then it'll sit there and charge up for the rest of the night. So I think it's really educating and really changing the mindsets. And then the second piece is just getting people comfortable and used to it. So just getting that experience. I know when we did our pilot, we had a couple test days where we had some EVs out there, and we had our members come and they could actually go out and test. It's a little different driving an EV, but it's a smooth drive. And I would say, lastly, at Zipcar, we want to give people the option, right? Whether you want an EV, whether you want a certain type of vehicle, we've got up to 50 to 70 different makes and models, and EVs just happen to be a part of that as well. So I think options ultimately at the end of the day is what consumers and what members are looking for.
Yeah, those are all great points, guys. I think we have time for one last question. What advice would you give someone looking to optimize their fleet downtime? Where should they begin?
Yeah, I think the first thing they need to do is make sure that they can measure it, and once they are able to measure it, they can start to drill in and understand which vehicles are costing them more from a downtime perspective. That's also where partnering with a fleet management company is also helpful, because not only are we measuring your performance, but we're also measuring it against all of our other clients, and so we have an understanding of what best in class looks like. And then we can take some of those key learnings that the clients of ours that do have a best-in-class program, and bring those ideas to clients who maybe are just starting out their journey. So they have a handful of actionable things that they can execute and see immediate results.
And I just double down on what Steve said. It's all about data collection and analysis, right? So start there. Understanding the root causes of downtime is important and essential into developing, targeted solutions. So it's data, it's collections, and bringing those together to provide a picture of how your fleet is operating. I think that's the best way to optimize your fleet.
And that goes along with what Steve said earlier. You can't change what you can't measure. Couldn't agree more, guys. So I think that brings us to the end of our time together. Steve, Angelo, thank you so much for your time and for sharing more about what works for you, what doesn't, and what's coming next to fleet management. To everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time as well, and thank you for asking such great questions. Also, don't forget, you'll get a recording of this event tomorrow, so keep an eye out on your inbox. Thank you all again so much, and see you soon.